There are some unbelievable deals in watches right now. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends over at Squarespace. More on them later. Today, I'm going to be talking about 3 watches, one complicated, one vintage, and one modern. All 3 of these watches are available online right now, not in the Theo & Harris shop, but online. And I want to talk about why I think they represent interesting value. And the second of these watches, which is Rolex, opens up a ton of questions, including fraud. Is this watch even real? Is it fake? If it's real, what is it worth? It's bidding right now at $3,800, and I think that really even anywhere under $20,000 would be a great buy. So this is going to be an interesting piece to see. So let's get into it. The first watch we'll be talking about here is from Breguet. It's a watch that I actually own, not the exact watch, but same reference, just in a different color, okay? I do prefer mine, but let me show you this one, which I think may be preferable to most of you out there because it's darker, it's kind of more badass, and it's a little bit more modern as opposed to my somewhat classic, a little bit of a, old man-ish Breguet. The reference is 7027. It is a Breguet Tradition, and this watch is just unbelievable. The price is basically $12,500, which is nothing compared to the original retail price over $30,000. I think $32,000. And let me tell you something. At $32,000, I even think it's a deal. A bargain is such a difficult word, but think about what the rest of the brands release at $30,000. Vacherons 222 recently released $32,000. Patek's Nautilus, Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak. You can't compare these very basic, stainless steel watches, sports watches, and their level of finishing and complication to Breguet's Tradition, yet the prices are equal. And then you factor in, forget the retail price, that these Breguets are available for, in this case, $12,500. They go up into $15,000, $16,000. But again, you're getting a discount also because you're not going to a dealer. This watch wasn't necessarily serviced. I can't guarantee the background, but this price is not so wild. It's not so unusual or underpriced. It's pretty much within the world of normal, which is insane because the value is there. These watches are unbelievable. 37 millimeters in diameter, 11.8 millimeters thick, which I think that proportion works out really well. So much hand finishing here. It's unbelievable. And so many different styles of hand finishing, treatments. Obviously, you've got the guilloche dials, but you've got so much hand carving. If you look closely at the details, the wheels, if you look at the power reserve, which is the complication here, it's just unbelievable. Not the most legible watch in the world, ladies and gentlemen. I wear mine often, and my eyes with glasses can handle it, but I know that when I do pass this watch off to more of an adult, as opposed to, I'm not 30 yet. My eyes still haven't totally gone when I have my glasses. But if I give this watch to my dad, he can't see it, right? There's no way, and he laughs. Long story short, at $12,500, a watch like this is an absolute steal, a bargain. It opens your eyes to what you can actually get for your dollar, right? We have become so desensitized in the luxury watch world to prices. We think that $30,000 is normal and it buys you sort of a basic time-only watch in stainless steel, but it's really not true. If you dig a little bit, if you think a little bit, if you're willing to be a little bit courageous and stand out from the pack, the bargains you can get are unbelievable. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends over at Squarespace. I have been a loyal client of Squarespace for almost 10 years now and an advocate on their behalf for a little over 2. And I couldn't possibly recommend them enough. I don't just recommend Squarespace to be your web development partner if you don't already have a website and you're building one. And if so, please go over to Squarespace. Explore their templates and their capabilities. They're an amazing business partner. But even if you already have your website, your portfolio, your business website, whatever it may be, take 20 minutes. Make an account. It costs nothing to make an account and explore the opportunities, because the tools that Squarespace offers business owners, from their flexible payment system, which allows your clients flexibility in purchasing your product, to their invoicing systems, their SEO programs, which allows you to build a following. It's amazing. Their fluid engine system, allowing you to drag and drop different elements on your site so easily. There is no better partner for your web development than Squarespace. So head on over right now, use the code TheoHarris for 10% off your first website or domain. Thank you to Squarespace, everyone. Head on over. Next watch. This is an interesting one. This is an interesting watch because it opens quite a few questions. It opens up quite a few doors. This is a Rolex Datejust, reference 16014, the third generation Datejust. The only difference, really material difference between this watch and its predecessor, the 1601, which is what I have. Same watch visually, really. Stainless steel oyster case, white gold fluted bezel, Jubilee bracelet. The big difference here is the quick set date, just as a matter of, a point of clarification. I know the references can get a little confusing sometimes, and I want to help out. But the big difference with this watch is, or those couple of little letters there in cursive, in script, Cartier. This watch was, if that stamp is original, which is a big if, always, and I'll give you my thoughts on that in a second, or it's a big fraud, but I'll give you my thoughts on that in a second. Those little letters represent a ton of value. Now, you're probably not as familiar with the Cartier stamp as you are with the Tiffany stamp. Tiffany stamp being the most famous of the stamps, both with Patek Philippe and with Rolex. Those are the two big ones. But there are so many other stamps too. We have Golby, we have Bayer. There are so many different stamps. Serpico Lino, which is a Venezuelan retailer of Rolex. So there are so many different stamps. But Cartier really has been a stamp that has stirred up maybe the most, apart from Tiffany or conjunction with Tiffany, appeal on the market. And that's because Cartier, like Tiffany, has a global recognition, unlike Golby, right? Golby is an Italian retailer that no one knows about outside of basically Italy or maybe Switzerland, right? Unless you're really in the watch community. But Cartier is known all over the world, as is Tiffany. These are really globally important brands. So that awareness is what creates that lore. That signature is so iconic, just like Tiffany, right? So now this watch, if it didn't have a Cartier stamp, would be worth about, in the fours. It'd be worth $4,000 to, $4,500. The dial has patina. I like patina quite a bit, but this patina isn't quite as even, isn't quite as attractive, right? Even is more attractive, generally speaking, unless it has a wild pattern effect. It's nice, but it's not perfect, okay? It's a little bit, but that Cartier stamp really brings it up. So the question is, at what price is this watch a buy? Because this watch right now is on auction. So this watch the bids are coming in. Right now it stands at $3,850. So where is this watch a buy? Even considering the patina or the damage, right? And I think that if I put this up to you guys, and I would like to, so please comment down below, I think that the consensus will be this is damage. You guys are a little bit less forgiving than I am, generally speaking, when it comes to that conversation, patina or damage. I happen to be a patina guy, so I happen to like it more often than not, really, unless it's green and moldy. But I digress. What would be the price where this is really unbelievable value? I think that this watch, if it were in fabulous condition, if the dial was better, I would put this watch in the buy category, under $20,000. A Tiffany example, which again, hugely valuable, right, is about $15,000. So I give Cartier another $5,000. They're even rarer and equally as beautiful, right? But they're even rarer, right? So I think that they have even more upward mobility in theory, right? So I think under $20,000, it's a pretty good buy. Is it a steal? No, right? Under 10, it's a steal. But again, this debate about value is going to be a contentious one because people are going to say, why would I pay a $15,000 premium over, right, because of these letters? And I get it. You may not see the value in those letters. I don't blame you. It's a ridiculous amount of money to pay for some print. Keep in mind, these watches, whether Cartier stamped or not, were sold for the original retail price back when they were originally retailed, right? So I understand if you think this is ridiculous, this is totally rubbish for our, UK viewers here. But the truth is the market does reward these things, whether you like it or not. So I need to have a more kind of objective recommendation, a recommendation that takes into sensitivities, not just of what I like, but really what the market rewards. So my personal opinion is that it actually is really neat, and I kind of like these things, and I would pay a premium. In fact, I do pay premiums for stamps, but I understand why someone wouldn't. I understand completely why if someone had to spend $20,000 on a luxury watch, they would never even consider consider Cartier-stamped Datejust. I totally get it. It's like buying into a joke on the, on the rich, right? It's like ridiculous. So the watch is no better. You'd rather have almost 2 Breguets, right? Or 3 Breguets, depending on the model. You could have so many more amazing things than this. But different strokes for different folks, and the market does reward these stamps. There's a 1655 right now, which is a Rolex Explorer 2, one of the most fantastic references. Generally sells for around $25,000, but with a Cartier stamp is retailing for about $82,000 rather. It's a $60,000 premium for those little letters. So $60,000 premium in a sports watch, $15,000 premium in a Datejust kind of makes those letters seem like they're a bargain, right? If those letters add $60,000 on an Explorer and $15,000 on a Datejust, pretty good, right? If you really want a Cartier double stamped watch, which is definitely on many people's lists, it's a deal. Now, of course, that value will be affected because of the condition of the dial, of course. But the dial isn't a disaster. It's not a disaster. Is the stamp legitimate? Fabulous question, Christian. I don't know, guys. It looks good to me. I sent it out to 3 dealers, I think, 3 dealers, and no one had a problem with it. Does that mean that it's a legitimate stamp? No. Does that mean that those dealers looked at that photo that I sent for more than a minute? No. Maybe if they were considering buying it, if they were being offered it, they would look closer, they'd look under a loop, they'd pay more attention. That's difficult. Just because someone says, yeah, I don't see a problem, doesn't mean that it's real, doesn't mean that it's legitimate. And I'm not saying it's not. To me, it looks good. But that's right. This is the tricky part. This is why it's difficult to buy something so rare, so specific, and frankly, a faker, someone that's going to design and manufacture a fake version of this watch. It's going to put that print on that watch. Not to say this watch has that. I'm not saying this. To me, it looks good. But a person that thinks that they can figure that out, and there are many, they stand to gain quite a bit. Think about it. How long would it really take to do that? And that skill over a lifetime, what is it worth? If you could demand a $10,000, $15,000 to $50,000, $60,000 premium every time you write those little letters on a Rolex, not bad. Pretty good payday. Right? People do harder things every day. They make fake Rolexes that look just like new. They look just like brand new, fabulous watches that they trick people all the time. You trick people all the time. They're almost indiscernible, right, from real Rolexes. You don't think that someone can figure out how to print the word Cartier on a dial? Don't be naive, Kay. All right, Godfather reference. We did complicated, we did vintage, now let's do modern. This is a huge watch, 44.5 millimeters in diameter, a thick watch too, 2-register chronograph, Omega's Dark Side of the Moon. Huge, way too big for me, and yet I think it's great. I think this watch, the black ceramic, I think everything about this watch, the red print, the movement, the coaxial skin, I think everything about this watch is fabulous. I really do. I think that its only problem is that its brother, the blue side of the moon, is maybe even prettier because the dial has this wild, flecked dial, and it has a moon phase, and it has the date in a different configuration. That's even a crazier watch. But the Dark Side of the Moon is absolutely gorgeous. The watch retails for $12,500, I believe, and secondhand, it's at $5,300. I think that's fabulous price. Again, I can't tell you to go buy it. I don't know the seller. I don't know if you're going to get screwed. I don't know when the watch was serviced. I don't know if you have a problem and they're going to take it back, right? Don't go buy this watch because I told you it's cool. But in theory, right, this watch is on Chrono24 1,000 times many times at $6,300. So it makes sense that someone would settle at $5,300, right, via cash, right? No credit card processing fees, etc. Just a wire. The price is not so good that it's ludicrous and in and of itself a red flag. And I think that it's great. Who would buy this watch? It's 44.5 millimeters. It's big. Who would buy it? Well, think about all the people out there wearing IWC big pilots. All the people that are wearing Panerais, right? All the people that are wearing Hublot, Classic Fusion, or Big Bang. Right? There are so many watches out there that are very large and too large for many of us, but a fabulous size for a whole world of people, right? I'm not going to wear a big pilot, but they look fabulous on so many people, right? So I understand why Omega made this watch. The regular Moon watch is a 42 millimeter watch, a fabulous watch, well proportioned, even though it's big, right? But Omega has managed to size up and size down that model flawlessly. That is not an easy feat. How many, and this is a good question, comment down below, how many brands have been able to introduce multiple sizes of the same model, right? And assessing them on their own merits, they all come out equal, or even sometimes better than the original. That's impressive. That's a very difficult thing. Think about the Datejust, right? The Rolex Datejust is offered in 36 millimeters historically, now offered in 40. It was great. But the 41, and many of you own the 41, God bless you all. It's a super neat watch, only made for a short period of time, very cool. But the 41 clearly is not as balanced, right? That bezel is very large. They call it the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup bezel, and it throws off the proportion of the watch. For better or worse, maybe it's your preference, no problem. But right? When it comes to Omega, they've been able to size up and size down without any single element sticking out and saying, ooh, that's, whether for better or worse, really different. That really changes the look of the watch. No, it looks like they're all perfectly within the same family. And no one's got a really big nose, right? No one's got a hanging, meaning the bezel illusion there. But I think it's amazing. I think Omega's done an amazing job. So what are your thoughts? Of these three watches, if you're only allowed one, which would you own? Do you think that any of these watches represent great value? And really the big question, do you think that Cartier stamp is real? And if so, what do you think is a fair price for that watch? What do you think it'll be worth in 5 or 10 years with more and more vintage buyers coming into the market? I don't think it's going down. So if you enjoyed this episode, comment down below. I'm not going to do another one of these for a little while here. It's going to be maybe a month or two. I'm trying to do them every 2-ish weeks over on the Zero. More and more, really. We're introducing a whole new series as well, where I go around buying watches from different vintage dealers in New Jersey and New York specifically. Also, when I travel, if I could fit it in. I'm traveling all over the place all the time for work, and I want to visit more shops. So stay tuned here on the Theo and Harris channel for more exciting content that I really think you're going to absolutely adore. And like this video, subscribe if you'd like more, and go join the Zero for more buying tips. See you on over there.